Hello, everyone. This is the Pro Football Explorer here, and right now, be having my standing board of my predictions for the 2022 NFL season. And before I begin, hope you guys do like the video, and also comment down on anything that you may disagree on, just for ideas that some things I could be missing. With that said, let's begin with the AFC West, which is actually my division. That is the Kansas City Chiefs still at top, while the Chargers are in second, the Raiders in third, and the Broncos in last. As a fan of the Broncos, I really just don't trust the uh, team as to how they build around Russell Wilson. I think there are areas that I think that should have been addressed, but they weren't. The front seven is questionable. The edge is questionable. Uh, Middle linebackers questionable. Secondary, I think that should be fine. The offense should be better, but there's just way too many questions with the front seven and how this team's going to move forward. I think that the Broncos have a interesting first half of the schedule, but after their bye, it's not going to be pretty. The Raiders are a team that I don't know if I can trust them fully. And do I think that the Raiders can win 10 games? I don't know. But I will say that I'd much rather have a quarterback that actually played through adversity like Carr, that had to lift the team almost every year he's played. Uh, and I do think that some aspects of their schedule are easy, like Cardinals without D Hop, Broncos in Vegas, Texans, Jags, Colts, maybe they've had their number. Patriots, Steelers, once with the Chargers, and maybe you could take advantage of Trey Lance. But uh, I think they might have a decent shot at the playoffs. I can definitely see that. Now, Chargers, I could be falling into this talent well like last year, thinking they'd be a second place team again. But I will say with the new acquirements of Mac and J.C. Jackson can help with their defense. A little bit concerned with the middle linebacker, but I think when you have a QB like Justin Herbert, it should be uh, this should be an 11-win team. Uh, the first 9 weeks of their schedule looks relatively easy. The back half can be tricky, but if the Chargers somehow end up being in third again, or maybe even last, that would be very surprising. And as for the aforementioned Chiefs being first, I think this team is much more uh, ready for the competitiveness of the conference, even without Hill and without Matthew. If there's a little bit of a slip, it could be understandable. I could see maybe 10 or 11 wins at worst with Mahomes. Um, I do think the Chiefs can take advantage of some areas. Does depend on how they do against Tennessee without A.J. Brown, the Cincinnati Bengals again, Tampa Bay with their O-line issues, and the Broncos with a new quarterback. But I think this team is still one of the better and much more scarier teams in the conference. Now, as for the AFC North, Baltimore is getting a huge advantage of playing a last place schedule. And I think that's probably going to help them the most. when it comes to uh, rebounding from an injury-riddled 2021. Do I think that they can be a 12-win team? I can see it. Are they going to be able to do it? We don't know. And the Cincinnati Bengals, I do think that this team is going to grind it out. I think uh, this year is going to be a lot more tougher than last year because last year they didn't have a lot of expectations, but I definitely see them trying to play through adversity, try to play uh, with a big target on their backs. Uh, I think they have a decent shot of making the playoffs. It could be the last seed, or it could be, you know, it could be the last spot, or it could be this second best wildcard team. I feel odd giving the Steelers a 8-win record. I think more of it has to do with the QB carousel they may be playing in. If Kenny Pickett pans out, this record would look ridiculous. If he doesn't, this is not going to be pretty. And 8 wins, I say, is nice for them. Um, in terms of like if I had to go this low, but I think with Mike Tomlin, they could either be 8-1 at worst instead of 8-9. But I don't think that the Steelers would fall that far. But if they do, I can't see this team go any lower than this. But I also don't know if they can go any higher, like a 10-win team like Cincinnati. Cleveland, they're a tough team to gauge on. I think that the Watson suspension and the difficulties of their schedule is what's going to make things very hard on them, since that they have a week one losing streak, or just not winning in general in week one, and the rest of their opponents get tougher. But Panthers, which isn't really a tough team, but knowing their circumstances of being a week one team that just doesn't win it, doesn't help either way. They could play against some of the worst teams and they will end up either tying or losing. You've seen it many times. The Steelers are a tough team, Chargers a tough team, Patriots, Ravens, Bengals again, Dolphins, Bills, and Buccaneers. These are the tougher teams that Jacoby Brissett has to play against. Ouch. At least Watson would get some reprieve of playing against Houston, Cincinnati, if they look over them. Baltimore, I don't see. Saints, I could see. Commanders, I could see, but yet again, I really don't want either team to win. And the Steelers, depending on how things go for them. I expect this to be a really rough year for the Cleveland Browns. Buffalo Bills. I think last year I was probably looking at much more of a better team than what was advertised from last year, losing games against Jacksonville, Indianapolis, just these teams that they should be winning against, but they didn't. But this year, I think that thanks to a very weak division like the AFC East, even though my records say weak, but more of it is that, Josh Allen is pretty much going to treat the Patriots and the Dolphins more like, and even the Jets, like they are the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. I think they can benefit from the opponents they play against, such as Cleveland Browns without Deshaun, Detroit, the Jets. Josh Allen has basically owned the Dolphins, the Bears, Maybe even Green Bay if they don't have their wide receiver situation figured out. Just that there's some benefits. And there's some 50-50 games that I might be leaning a little bit into with Buffalo. Now, the Patriots, I do think that they are a. I think they're the team that'll play most likely the smarter team. They'll play as if they can win against you, wit for wit. And with the Patriots being wit to wit, um, I can see them winning games such as the Dolphins with a new head coach, Steelers with a new quarterback, Ravens with no wide receivers, Packers with no wide receivers, Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, Jets twice, and maybe even the Cardinals if, they get the bad half of Arizona. I do think that they have a good shot of winning. Just have to see if they can put all the pieces together. I don't know if they'll make it into the playoffs because they have tough opponents such as the Buffalo Bills, the Bengals, the Raiders, the Vikings, maybe. And if Green Bay does play well in terms of their offense, this team could be missing the playoffs by like half a game or due to tiebreakers. And that's kind of like the same thing I'm thinking with Miami. This is a team that has a new head coach, quarterback that I think is decent at best and backup at worst. And putting in new pieces such as Tyreek Hill, Cedric Wilson, adding pieces to the O-line with Teron Armstead, Connor Williams, and their defense still having that defensive coordinator they had when they had Brian Flores. I do think that this team can surprise people. I think a healthy and probably decent Tua can lead them into a 10-win record. If not, even if he's healthy, this is not going to be good and probably going to be a good look on these records you see. But I think with what Miami has, I think they have a good shot with McDaniel, with Tua, with the defense they have. Hopefully they rebound instead of having, the team that lost 7 straight. And if we get the one that won 7 straight, I think this team could be an interesting dark horse team. New York Jets, I'm actually going to leave this one very short. I am not optimistic about them. I think that they're going to have Zach Wilson out there just to destroy his confidence, especially the first 4 weeks of the season where they play all AFC North teams. Literally, all AFC North teams is the first 4 games of their schedule, the black and blue division. And it doesn't get any better where they have to go against Miami, Green Bay, Denver, Patriots twice, and the Bills in 10 games. They're basically almost eliminated from playoff contention. Unless they want to play, upsets. I can see them upsetting the Steelers. I could see them upset the Vikings. Maybe Detroit. Seattle. Chicago. Jacksonville. I just don't feel that optimistic for the Jets whatsoever. Now, AFC South is a very tricky one, and I would say the Titans are a very tricky team to predict. I do think they are better than Indy, while Indy, if Matt Ryan played like old Matt Ryan, I think the Colts could definitely overshoot them in the standings. But I think Tennessee has a slight edge because I think Mike Vrabel can get them to avoid being last place in that division. Their schedule may be tough, especially being the number 1 seed last year. They are a very tricky team to predict. They could, win games against the tough Buffalo Bills or the Los Angeles Rams last year, but they end up having a weird losses to the Texans and uh, the New York Jets. So Tennessee has to step up for that part. But I think this team is still feared in the South. Indianapolis is not that far from them, but yet again, who knows how much of an upgrade Matt Ryan is? I think Matt Ryan is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz, but I don't know if Matt Ryan is you know anything more than just trying to anticipate how everything should go. Who knows how that goes for them? But I still think that Indianapolis can be an interesting team. I just don't know how long they can maintain this competitive window where it's gonna end up shutting right on their fingers, or the door's gonna slam on their fingers. Jacksonville, I'm gonna play into that well again. Gonna say, maybe Doug Peterson hire is gonna help out Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, the offense to get much more better from what they had in Urban Meyer. The thing is, I don't know if that translates much to the win column, but I definitely do think I'd rather take a chance on Trevor Lawrence with Doug Peterson. And seeing how he played in the preseason, he looks much more better, I would say. I don't know about dark horse potential, but I definitely can see them being a lot better than 3-14, and I think that's where they can get better. Houston, I'm not fully confident in. I think they're a very limited team. I think they have a high floor, and while I do think Davis Mills is not a bad quarterback, I think teams are pretty much getting ready to study him a lot. And either he shows that he's the guy for Houston, or they could be in the market for trading for Jimmy G. We don't know. But I'm probably not at that optimistic about the Texans because I don't know much about if their O line has improved, the run game got better, the wide receivers have stepped up. Jonathan Grenard, if he could be a sack leader again. Derek Stingley be that player that was selected in the top 5, show that he's capable of being that number 1 corner, along with Jean Pierre, who I think can be a very good safety, probably underrated, I would say. Now, the NFC West. Now, I'm expecting these teams to just like go at each other's throats. And when I say about these teams, I'm talking about the 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. I think I have much more faith in Sean McVay's coaching with Matthew Stafford and all the guys that he has. If Jimmy G wasn't on the roster, I would think the 49ers would be a little bit more better than 10-7. I do think that's pretty much a bad distraction to have in the locker room, even though Jimmy does give them the best chance to win. But I just don't think that the 49ers are putting that much trust in Trey Lance. But I do see the upside being much more higher with Trey than with Jimmy, regardless if Jimmy did win, 9 games for the team last year. And I'm saying 9 because he missed a couple of games last year. Arizona, I'm not that too high on. I don't see them being better. I do think that they have a very solid, probably dark horse contender offense, but defense. Is J.J. Watt going to stay healthy? Is Zaven Collins going to be the guy? Is, Buda Baker going to be the only guy in the secondary that's going to bounce, that's going to, pop off the charts for the Cardinals? I do think Arizona is, as I said, they're a dark horse team in terms of their offense. Their defense, I'm not fully confident in, and I don't trust them in the second half of the season, especially after the first 7 games of the year. So if they want to prove that they are, a legitimate contender or a legit team that can make the playoffs with Kyler Murray, who I'll say this right now, I think he's, he can be a top 10 quarterback if he got a better coach. I think he plays the game really well. I just don't like the offense that he's in with Cliff Kingsbury. Uh, give him a better coach. Give him a coach that utilizes his strengths and doesn't use him to just scramble all around. And Seattle, this is a team I'm most likely going to see them run the ball a lot. QB play is probably sketchy, even though I like Tyler Lockett. DK Metcalf's a good option, and maybe Moulton could be a good contributor for the team, and they'll try to play good defense. Uchenna Nwosu from the Chargers they got in the offseason, I'm really looking forward to see what he could do as a full-time starter. Other than that, I really see this team having a rough year. I can see them winning more home games than road games. And that's where I'm going to leave it as. Now, the NFC North, I think that this one is going to have the most conflict of Green Bay and Minnesota fighting for the division. My question is that which one do I trust more? A Packers offense without Davante Adams and MVS, or a team that's going to be starting over on the defense in Minnesota with a new head coach with a new regime? I would take Green Bay from looking at the standing board, but I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota surpasses them for some reason. Green Bay, I do think they may have their struggles early on. I think the first 4 games of the year against Minnesota, Tampa Bay, and New England are going to be the ones that are going to test them. The Chicago Bears, I don't really see that, but I definitely can see Green Bay possibly struggling, but who knows? I do think that they are the better team in terms of, like, would I take Rodgers or would I take Cousins to win the division? And I'd rather take Rodgers than Cousins. And for Minnesota, this is an any given Sunday team. There's a reason why this team lost 8 of their 14 games by 1 score. And this team could either sweep the Lions, sweep the Bears, split with the Packers, make some upsets here and there. My big question is, can they, produce? Like, can they try to get this team to get to its full potential? I think they have the potential of being the better team in the NFC, of being one of the better wildcard teams along with the 49ers. The question is, can they put it all together? And I think they could, but they have to make they have to do the work. Detroit and Chicago, I'm a little bit more up on the Lions because I think I much rather see how the Lions offense plays out. I think their offense can be underrated. I think if you put a good amount of wide receivers, TJ Hawkinson doesn't get hurt, DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams does well for them. Questions will be on their defense. The Bears are basically the opposite. I feel more confident in their defense than their offense. I do think Detroit may edge out the Bears for third place. While I may think the Lions may have a good upside, I just don't see the win totals going any more higher than maybe 8 wins. Like I could see them upsetting the Eagles, Commanders. I can see the win out of. They may split with the Vikings, win against the Seahawks, um, split with the Bears, win against the Jets and Giants, possibly Jags, maybe an upset against the Bills, um, which would be like 8 or 9 wins. Um, Again, I just don't see the Lions going any further up, especially with how their defense is. I have to see how the defense goes before I start thinking they can have a good shot of, being a wild card team, not a division winner, a wild card team. And as I mentioned with the Bears, I don't know if I have much confidence in their offense. I know I have confidence in their defense because that's what they like to do, since it's almost like the Monsters of the Midway part, I don't know, part 30 at this point. They like to try to see if they can get that defense going. Their schedule is honestly very tough. They have Niners, Packers twice, Vikings, Patriots, Cowboys, Dolphins, Eagles, Bills, maybe the Vikings. Just, it's going to be a rough stretch for them. I would say I don't want them to move off of Justin Fields, too soon. I think he needs to, try to get something out of this team. Not one chance and you're out the door. I think that's kind of stupid. Now, the NFC East, it looks really tough and competitive. I would say this is almost like my schedule from last year. Is that critical Broncos fan, but here and there, I do think Philadelphia wins their division. I can see the second place schedule maybe being a benefit. They do have some opponents like Detroit. They have the Commanders, possibly winning against the Cowboys, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Houston, maybe Indianapolis, maybe Tennessee, the Bears, Giants, and the Saints is I can see wins in. But who knows what's gonna go down with them? I think there can be an interesting wild card team at worst, but I do see them winning the division. I just don't know if it's going to be as convincing as some people would like to think. And this is the one I just like want to pull my hair out because I don't think the Commanders are a wild card team, but I feel like there are some factors that may have forced my hand. And that's more of Dallas Cowboys. No, not going to have Tyron Smith at left tackle. And while I do think that the Commanders with Carson Wentz is meh at best, the NFC to me is just very hard to predict. And I'm being honest with that. I think that division is just so hard to predict. Like, I do think, Dallas or New Orleans does better, but I just don't see how that's going to be. But for the Commanders, they have an up and down schedule where they have teams like Jags and Lions. The first 2 picks of the draft they're going to go up against Chicago, revenge against Indy, revenge against Tennessee, Philadelphia, Houston, Atlanta, the Giants twice, maybe the Browns. It's just more of like they have games they can win, just have to see if they would win. And I really don't want to see Dan Snyder's team in the playoffs, but I feel like this is pretty much forcing my hand. In Dallas, the fact that they signed Jason Peters to their practice squad just screams they're going backwards. And I just don't trust Dallas. I just don't trust Dallas without their left tackle. Their O line is already sketchy. You know, their left tackle, uh, Josh Ball. I don't know. You have a rookie at left guard, not a bad thing, but he's been penalized a lot. Tyler Bias, he's all right. Zach Martin, I like him, but who knows if he's going to be healthy. And Terrence Steele, like this is a very sketchy offensive line. They're also thin at wide receiver. Um, Losing Amari Cooper, and I think people definitely forgot about how anemic that Cowboys offense was before they got Amari from the Raiders. And I'm talking like from 2017 and the first half of 2018. I think this is going to be a very rough road for the Cowboys. Maybe a rough start, but definitely a strong finish for the team. And the Giants, kind of like the Jets, I don't have much to say about them. I think that health is essential. Uh, Turnovers need to be cut down, and knowing that they have to play in this, muck of a schedule where it's Tennessee, it's Dallas. Who knows if Baker Mayfield's an upgrade there? Carolina week 2. Green Bay, Baltimore, maybe even Jacksonville, in Seattle. It's just an absolute mess before things get even better for the G-Men. And I really do see them trying to tank for either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Or they could see about Will, Le- Will Levi's from Kentucky. Because I think those kind of guys will be great in Dayball's system. I think more of CJ Stroud from Ohio State. I think he can definitely fit into Dayball's offense. I think he has the size, the arm, the athleticism to be a starting caliber quarterback for the Giants under Dayball, because that can be a good upgrade for him. Tank so hard and try to get CJ Stroud. Now, NFC South, the Buccaneers most likely reign supreme because it's Tom Brady back for another year. While the interior of their offensive line is questionable, I do think that this team is still dominant enough to, win the division yet again. New Orleans can give them fits. Dallas can get them fits with their defense against their all line. Kansas City can get them fits, and Green Bay can get them fits. Uh, Steelers D line can definitely give some fits, but I think Tom Brady will definitely find the guy open before they're ready. Baltimore Rams, maybe the 49ers, the Bengals. These are teams that can give them fits, but I think with Tom Brady in your corner, I can't see them going lower than maybe 11. So that's how I see it. Now, New Orleans Saints. I think this team's window is basically shut on them. They wasted Drew Brees' career. Sean Payton decided to resign for the team. And while I think their defense is good, how their offense is going to do, that's a different mindset. You can say, oh, Dennis Allen's there. He's going to be, like Sean Payton. He's going to give him, he's going to try to do all the things that made them great before. But sometimes you need that one mind, because sometimes when you use the same system with a different one, either there's tweakings for improvement or tweakings that could just ultimately screw them up. And while I don't see this team going into tank levels because they already traded their first round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles, I just have a hard time seeing this team being as competitive from, the Sean Payton era and the Drew Brees era. It's hard to see whether or not they're better off without them or better, or they really needed them badly, or they covered up some massive holes. And this could be, their window's closed. Their windows is basically almost closed on them, right on their fingers. The Carolina Panthers. Oh boy. With Baker Mayfield at the QB realm, at the helm, um, I think that Baker can at least get them to 6 wins. I could see Cleveland, New York, maybe once against the Saints, once against the Cardinals, the Falcons, and just to say a little bit more, if I wanted to go higher, like Baker Mayfield was the reason why they won against the Bengals a lot. Maybe the Seahawks or the Lions, but again, this is a really tough team to just say that Baker makes them better when they've had back half collapses. Like, they're like Jenga. And they pull the wrong board from that stack almost every time once they reach the back half of the season. And it gets uglier and uglier and uglier. And just say, too, that this is a team that should not be in cap hell next year. Just throwing that out there. And if they really want to show they're competitive, they're going to have to try to play smart football. Baker Mayfield being the game manager, Christian McCaffrey staying healthy, wide receivers, they play their asses off. Offensive line needs to block better. Defense, front seven, can be very interesting to see how they do. But the secondary has to step up outside of J.C. Horn and Jeremy Chin. And finally, we reach the Atlanta Falcons. And here's my thing with the Falcons. And it's hard to say that there's going to be some optimism. They actually have the fewest wins I'm willing to give them. I would have given them 2, but that would have been extremely harsh. I don't see the improvements they have where the offensive line is still sketchy. Wide receivers are questionable. Cordell Patterson and Kyle Pitts are their bright spot. Who knows if Marcus Mariota is going to stay healthy and Desmond Ridder is going to be the guy if Mariota does go down. And the defense is absolutely a mess outside of AJ Terrell. Should have been the top 100. Grady Jarrett. Henry Arikidi. Sorry for mispronouncing it, but Lorenzo Carter. I don't know, man. This is a very rough look for the team. I do think that they can have some wins, like Panthers upset against the Saints, the Bears. It's just, this looks like an absolute mess for them. And this is a team that could be in the market, like I said with the Giants. They could be searching for a quarterback too with either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. And if I'm Atlanta, probably have Bryce Young. He's much more mobile. CJ Stroud is much more elusive. He's scrambling to throw, while Young could possibly be more of that scrambler that he can run, or he is the same like Stroud of scrambling to throw instead of scrambling to run for a first down. So that's my idea of the Falcons, that they could get Bryce Young, or Hopefully, CJ Stroud, whoever can fix this franchise from the memes they are from 28-3. Yeah, it ain't gonna be pretty for the Dirty Birds. All right, so that is my thoughts on each of the teams in their divisions of who wins it, who's a wild card team, who misses it, and who is at the bottom of the barrel. Do hope you guys like the video. Like, comment, and even subscribe on YouTube. All right. Hope you guys have a good night. Peace.